Hiya folks, it's Kikoskia here, and welcome back to Let's Play Betrayal at Krondor. And when last we left off, we are in the deeper part of the Mac Mordain Cadal, trying to get through the mountain towards Elvandar. We've been going off every single side path we were told not to, because there was lots of danger here, because there's lots of danger here, and we've been fighting every encounter that we can to get more experience and loot. We're not carrying a lot of loot right now, though I should probably pass some restoratives over to you. We are carrying a lot of food, and I should probably give you 2 bits of food. And yep, I don't have any poison on my sword, which is something I need to remedy. Speaking of poison, somebody told me that Moredhel do not succumb to poison, and it's the reason why Gorath has never had to use those poison-curing beads. It's interesting that I haven't noticed that. I've always just presumed that Gorath was lucky, but no, it's because Gorath is Moredhel. Either way, we haven't been this way, so we're going to go down here and inevitably find trouble. We don't find trouble in these very narrow passageways, which is a nice little touch, that you know that you're relatively safe provided you don't go into a wide open area. And here is a lone chest, and it's just got money in it. I could take the sword. I could take the sword. It's not great loot. You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to put this, which is the Mac Mordain Dock map, into the treasure chest, because I don't need that. I don't need that at all. And this is when we do need it, and I get very sad. Right, let's not find anything here. That's fine. And there goes our light. We're going to use a torch. We have 24 of them, now 23 and one that's lit, and it makes a more natural looking light than the candle glow spell. We can see just fine either way, but let's have a bit of variety as we continue to move further in. Okay, south or north, I'm going to go up. There is a pit ahead of me. If I'd have ran too far forward, we'd have gone, and then it would have been the end. And we don't want it to be the end. We didn't come all this way to die to a pit. Let's go over. Ha-ha! And over here leads to something? Probably an enemy, if I were to guess. Or maybe the way out. If it's the way up, it's absolutely nothing. Well, you know what? If it's absolutely nothing, I'm gonna load, because I'm gonna get my piece of rope back. There's nothing to be gained that way, except disappointment. So, let's turn round, and let's go north instead. North will lead to the way forward, or it will lead to combat. It may lead to... That's a brachner! We're set then. Let's just hope our advance is undetected, or our advantage will be lost. That is a brachner! The ground shook. Somehow the brachner had sensed their approach and was lumbering towards them. Startled, Owen braced himself, his wide eyes fixed on the titanic creature. Glancing over his shoulder, he gulped. This is going to be harder than I thought. It's really not. We've dealt with this thing before. We know how to deal with this thing. Where is the spell we want? It's called Despair Thy Eyes. Remember to spare thy eyes, folks. Now, it will despair thy eyes. Also, 98% accuracy with a thrust. Yep. We're just gonna rest here and keep hitting. Oh, wait, 2 hits. Search the body for supplies, but make it quick. Yeah, the brachner is not the danger it used to be. Also, it's entirely bereft of loot. And that was the guardian preventing us from getting through the mountain. It's not much of a guardian. That said, if your party's not as well equipped or as high in stats as ours is, it would be a difficult fight. Also, you don't need that selected. I don't know why you have that selected, but you don't need it. Okay, let's go through. A long corridor stretched before them. This must be the passage to Elvander, noted Owen. If we go this way, it may take us a few hours to get to the end. Are we to climb up right now? Yes. Hours passed. Just as Owen was beginning to wonder if they would ever see the light of day again, the walls of the stairwell widened and were illuminated by dim shafts of light piercing the darkness through an oaken door. Pushing it open, Owen gasped at the marvel of the leafy canopy which spread above them. Well, we are in a forest. They were not alone. Gorat's pulse quickened as he saw the lone figure approach, but when it became apparent they were not being attacked, he relaxed a bit, squinted slightly in an attempt to see who was about to join them. It's an awful mess from here on out. Wyverns have come in from over the mountains and have singed things up a bit. If we hadn't have been beating back flames this past few weeks, we'd have been through a month sooner. I don't know how many roads are passable at this stage. What kin of yarn that come and helped us clear out the mess in the mine left as soon as word reached us that fires were approaching Elvander. Where did the wyverns come from? Where else, lad? The Northlands. Some new Goit Moredhel leader I hear harassing your kinfolk. I hope you haven't any kits in arms way. No. What of the Moredhel? A few as what had the nerve to cross over from the moorland have already got themselves skewered, though I know that the Prince Callan has been on the frontier looking for others. The biggest concern as yet is to put out the flames and get help to those as got trapped behind it all. Interesting topics we can talk about, like Prince Callan. Prince Callan leads? What of war leader Tomas? Poor news indeed. 3 days ago, Tomas led a band of elves to stem raiders what had come from over the river near Moreland. They beat the raiders back alright, but in the melee the warlord got a thrust to his side with a tainted blade. They had to carry him back to Elvander, though I understand it wasn't without a struggle. Tomas wanted to stay, but word was carried back to Aglarana of his condition, and that was the end of that. Prince Callan assumed control of the patrols at that point, and I can hear still up near the northeastern fringe of the forest, carving up Moredhel. Does the war leader yet live? That lad's ever been a fighter, and tenacious one at that. Sooner he'll let them cut off a leg than succumb to this poison. I wouldn't worry. I think it took your kin for a turn, though, seeing Tomas fall. I've never heard of it happening in the 15 years he's been with your folk. What about the clear roads? We are required in Elvander quickly. You mentioned fires. Extinguished now, though not without a fair portion of foot stomping and bucket carrying. I thought for a while the whole forest might become all one ferocious blaze, but Tather and the rest of Queen Aglarana's spellweavers managed to put a halt to that business. Then we should have no difficulty returning to Elvander. I don't know I would exactly say that. There's still a fair number of those wyverns flapping about the forest, though Tather's been working night and day to bring the blighters down. Even thought Prince Callan a little bit of spellcraft what can bend the will of those cantankerous lizards, but I understand it still hasn't put a halt to the raids. What of the dwarves? Oh, we volunteered a few men, but as you elves don't much like outsiders in your realm, we've respected your borders. King Dolgan did send a few volunteers to help out the Elf Queen, but a lot of them took a terrible weariness once they entered the forest and could go no further. They must have fell afoul of one of your fabled sleeping glades. Kaldara. If we may face wyverns, it might be wise if we had our armour repaired. Are there any armour crafters in Kaldara? Are there any leaves in Elvander? You've gone daft. Of course there's an armour crafter as in Kaldara. You don't have to go all that way, though. I can repair it for a few gold. And if you watch close, you might even learn a bit about the craft of repairing armour. Does 100 sovereigns suit you? Sure. Suits me just fine. What do we need to do? Well, lad, I'd be much obliged if you'd remove any armour you might have under your tunic of yours, and if your elf friend will do the same, we'll get to work. Now just watch what I do. Someone told me once a few dents in the armour can actually be beneficial. Something about them catching blows that would ordinarily scrape along the surface and into the chinks. Makes some sort of sense when you think about it, I suppose. Maybe it would be a good idea to make armour so that it already has bumps. Facets. If it already had them built in, then the armour... You already finished? Aye, finished. You'll find your armour is in as good a condition as can be, lad, though I dare say you'd have learned a great deal more if you spent more time listening and less time talking. Interesting. You did learn something, though. Only Owen learned something. Armour craft at 28%. Oh boy! That's some skill. So, this looks to be a maze of trees. Ha. Oh, it's a maze of trees. Let's not go off the road right now. What's the map look like? Ah, the map doesn't really show any of this. Huh. What do we have here? Owen knocked on the door. Hickory-scented pipe smoke slid underneath, curled gently around his feet. The smell had barely reached his nose when the door was flung open, and they were greeted by a smiling dwarf. "Great day! Come in, laddies, join us!" Over his left shoulder, they could see several other dwarfs seated around a small wooden table, onto which they were tossing small square stones. Introductions completed, they were invited to join the game. "Only 5 sovereigns! What do you say?" "I mean, we have 5 sovereigns, sure." Standing around the table, Owen was given a stone, and after a count of 3, they were all thrown on the table. "Klapka!" yelled one of the dwarfs, grabbing the stone thrown by Owen. "You lose, lad!" He scooped all the coins on his lap. "What?" cried Owen. "'Twas a double dragon! The first to yell Klapka and grab the other's stone is the winner," said the dwarf. "Care to try again?" Sure." "Atta boys! Drop 'em in the pot and pick up your stones." Once again, they tossed their stones on the table at the count of 3. This time, the 2 of the dwarfs stood up excitedly and yelled, "Vuka! Vuka!" They picked up their stones and tossed them down again. After the second throw, one dwarf slammed his fist on the table, and the other, grinning broadly, scooped up all the coins in his lap. "Ack, Vuka stones! Care to try your luck again, lads?" Okay." "Very good. I think your luck is about to change," said the dwarf. They tossed the stones on the table for a third time, the strange markings on each side flipping and spinning wildly as they bounced across the table. "Tabled," said one of the dwarfs cheerfully. "All coins stay on the table." "Will you play again?" "I've no idea what's going on, but I have the money to spare." Owen tossed 5 more coins onto the table. Once again, at the count of 3, he threw his stone. This time, the settling of the stones was greeted by amazed silence as all the dwarfs stared at the table. "Hack!" yelled one dwarf. "It cannot be!" The others quickly joined in, and soon all were whispering and arguing amongst themselves in a language Owen couldn't understand. Finally, while the others looked in disgust, the dwarf who had met them at the door spoke. "You threw a dragon, lad." Realizing the import wasn't sinking in, he continued. "You threw a dragon, and we all threw Vukas." "Did we win?" Owen asked, still confused. "Kill me now! Aye! You won everything!" The other dwarfs began to dump handfuls of coins on the table. "Must be over 100 gold pieces. You'll be playing again, won't you?" Before all the dwarfs had a chance to complain, Gorath picked up the coins and headed for the door. "You've got to give us a chance to win our money back!" the dwarf yelled after them. They pretended not to hear. "Oh, we just ran away with all their coins!" I think they're mad. Considering the circumstances, I don't think it would be a good idea to come back to this place. We should leave. Yeah, you should totally leave. That is not a good place to go back to. They knocked on the door and waited for a reply. There was some shuffling sounds, then the door swung open and they found themselves staring down at a dwarf. "Well, bless me bones, what brings you lads so far from home?" He invited them into his house and offered them some fresh water for their pouches. He asked of their journey, and they told him briefly. "You've heard about the troubles being had by the elves, then?" he asked. "Trouble?" questioned Owen. "Aye, damnedest thing! Baby dragons have been attacking Elvandar. War leader Tomas has been doing his best to keep 'em out, but there's only so much he can do." He talked some more of the attacks and of the strange rock-like inhabitants that had been spotted in the Mac Mordain Cadal. They surprised him with a description of how they had killed one of the creatures. Thanking him for his kindness, they left. "Is that a tavern ahead of us?" "Oh, that looks like a tavern, and I'm really pleased at the prospect of a tavern. There's also a house there that could be an armourer. This looks like this used to be a tavern of some kind," he said, "but it looks as though this place was abandoned some time ago." "Oh, no! No tavern!" Ooh, that is a problem. What's over here? I'm gonna follow this path. Does that just lead all the way back? That literally just leads all the way back. We are going to go back to the main road. Ignore there. Ignore there. And is this... Gorath halted. Blinking slowly, he put his hand over his stomach, then looked towards his confused-looking companion. "Hold for a moment, Owen. I wish to speak to you." "Why? What is it?" I merely wish to prepare you for things that may transpire before we reach Elvander. There are magics, things ancient, which have kept the Moredhel from crossing into the forests of the Elvander, but I feel those things have been awakened. I may have some difficulty in completing our journey. Difficulty? What do you mean? It was not my intent to alarm you, only to reassure you that no matter what may happen between here and Elvander, I have come to consider you a friend. Interesting that you warned us like that. I mean, it's great that you consider us your friend. This place is abandoned. Maybe someone left behind something we can use. Spoiled rations and a shell. I mean, we'll take the shell. We'll absolutely take it. Aha! This is what I'm looking for. A shop. We definitely want this. We also definitely want to sharpen this blade and poison that. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, sharpen that too. Can't hurt. Oh, it used to be a shop of some kind. Oh dear. So, no shop here either. The house seemed to be abandoned. Prying open the front door, they entered cautiously. Inside, they found an assortment of furniture items, no doubt too heavy or bulky to move. Though it appeared there wasn't anything of value, the house was worth a careful search. It's a gem. I don't know that we're going to ever find somebody that will buy it. This place, by the way, pretty big. Oh, we're all the way over there. We are all the way over there. Interesting. Ah, there's a well. Excellent. No one answered the first knock, so Owen knocked again. Finally, a hoarse voice called to them, heavy with a dwarven accent. Who's calling me? We come from the kingdom. Can we come in? Owen asked. Aye, the door's open. Do as you like. They opened the door and entered a dimly lit room, sparsely furnished. In one corner they could make out a shape, apparently laying on a bedroll. Come in, come in. Rest your bones a minute, said the dwarf in a tired voice. With his eyes closed, as though he were seeing the event on the inside of each lid, he told them of his journeys from Kaldara and of the wyverns he had seen encircling Elvander. The bloody Moredhel are roaming about too. Took a sword in the side from one. He rolled over and they could see the deep gash extending from his hip halfway up his hairy back. Can we do anything for you? Owen winced at the gaping wound. Nah, it looks worse than it is. I just need a few more days to rest up, that's all. They wished him well and left quietly. I'm glad they're going to be okay. Ooh, there is another store here. This is probably one that's actually doing something. Also, did I click here? Owen banged on the door with the side of his fist. After a moment, a man's voice called from inside. What do you want? Could you give us some fresh water for our pouches? Asked Owen. There's a well just down the road. Now leave me alone. Further conversation didn't seem worth the effort. So they left. I mean, there is a well. It's literally right here. And it works. Just a well, get some water. Doesn't actually do anything. So, we're just going to go to... What time is it? It's day, but we wouldn't know it by looking at the sky. And this place actually has stuff. Split tree goods. The lay of the goods store was comfortably familiar, arranged in such a common-sense fashion that it took only a few moments for Owen to locate the items, which interested him. Okay. Ring of Krondor, swords, grey tower plate. I mean, we could go back and hand that grey tower plate to the, kobold. I'm not going to do that right now, but I could do that later. Let's sell this. Not going to get much for it. Let's sell this. We're going to get 51 sovereigns for it. Let's sell the sword. We're going to get 100 sovereigns. That's a little better. What else do you sell? A key of lineages. Herbal packs, rations, which are going to be very useful. Restoratives. Okay, this place is kitted out to be a place that you could pretty much get everything you could ever want. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff here, so let's get the things we need. 7. I need some more restoratives. That's what I need. So let's get some more restoratives. 61? Sure. And you know what? We'll buy some more as well and hand the extra over to Gorath. And we'll also get some more rations because We have the space in our inventory. 4 gold. Excellent. 3 and 4. I'll take it. We could also get an armorer's hammer, a shovel, torches. We can get loads of stuff here, and I'm really pleased about that. Really pleased about that. Little concerned, however, about how big and huge this place is, but I'm sure we'll be fine. And this is when we won't be fine, as we have now arrived in the forest surrounding Elvander. This is a big place, and the map really is not helping me, okay, this is Kaldara. The map really is not helping me figure out where Elvander is. It's probably a long way away. Probably a long way away. And so, when we come back, folks, beginning to explore this woodland. This woodland with wyverns in it, and magic afoot. Hopefully we'll be alright. Also, there is no tavern here, so we're gonna have to rely on the healing that we can get from resting and from restoratives. The latter of which is very expensive for healing, but it'll do in a pinch. And so, I'll catch you next time, folks, and I'll see you then. Later.